Hi YouTube. I have missed you guys. You have no idea. I'm sorry I've been slacking on the YouTube content. I genuinely don't know how content creators balance all of the different platforms. I'm still working on it. I really prioritize my YouTube community because I do love you guys and I love just being able to just sit down, put the camera on, and just chat about books, which we all love. And today I'm going to be giving you guys just a recap on every single book I have read so far this year up until this point, according to my Goodreads. And can we talk about this pop socket? Look how freaking cute this is. Book lover. Anything you see or I talk about or I'm wearing in this video will be linked in the description below. My phone case, my pop socket, my shirt, my camera and filming equipment, every book I talk about, my Goodreads itself, all of my socials. You can find everything down in the description. As I was saying, according to my Goodreads, I have read 32 books so far this year. My goal for the year, I kept it the same as last year, so I want to read 100 books this year. According to Goodreads, again, I am ahead of my goal, which is always good. And we're just going to go through every single book I've read this year, whether I recommend it to you, what I rated it, is it available on Kindle Unlimited, what platform did I read it on, aka Kindle Audio Physical. So grab a drink, grab a little snack, grab your favorite blanket, get cozy, because we have a lot of books to get through. Starting with Sunlight by Devney Perry. This was my first read of 2025 and I actually read this on a car ride home. We're in Wilmington, North Carolina. By now I can say it out loud. We are moving to Wilmington, North Carolina, and on this specific trip, we were on our way home and we were trying to get home by New Year's Eve so we could watch the ball drop at home and then literally go right into bed. And I read Sunlight by Devney Perry, which is the second book in the Haven River Ranch series. The first one is Crossroads. Both of them are available on Kindle Unlimited and I adore this duology. I cannot believe she is not writing more. There are only 2 books in this series and it honestly breaks my heart because they are so good. Think small town, western, cowboy, spicy romance, but really good banter between characters, adults with real life problems. Everything I love in a romance book is balled up into one in both of these. And I read The Reformatory, and again I read this one on my Kindle because at the time it was like $1.99 on the Kindle store and I saw a bunch of my favorite book talkers talking about it and I immediately downloaded it, started it, read it, and it broke my heart. This book takes place in the 1950s and it focuses on a school for boys. It's basically a reform school where kids or boys who have gotten in trouble, they go here instead of going to prison. So the author of this book, Tanana Reeve Dew, her uncle actually went to the school that this book was based on, which is the Dozer School for Boys. He actually went to that school and he ended up not coming home from that school, and that was the spark for her to write this book. One of the best books I probably ever read. Again, a 4.5 rating for this one. Loved it. Which feels weird to say because it is so sad. Then I needed something lighter, so I read Blitz by Devney Perry, again on Kindle Unlimited. Read this on my Kindle. This is the second book in the Treasure State Wildcats series. The first one is Coach, the second one is Blitz. I gave it a 3 because nothing about it really will stand out in my mind. Like, I don't remember the character's name. I loosely remember the plot, but again, we have mature characters, a spicy sports romance, and this one specifically was a coach-student relationship, but legal. Okay, legal. They're in college. It's legal. And again, another Kindle Unlimited read, Strange Sally Diamond. I loved this book, but I really wanted more from the ending of it. If you love an eccentric, kind of whimsical character that you like can't nail down, you would love Strange Sally Diamond. Again, my Goodreads rating is a great synopsis of how I felt about this book. I said, OMG, I am so let down by this ending. I really thought this was about to be a 5-star read for me. So much suspense. Who's who, what's going on in the story, and then it literally just ended. I remember I kept tapping to see if there was going to be an epilogue with like a bigger twist in it, but there wasn't. But I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time reading it, so for that, it deserves a 4-star rating. And then I read one of my new all-time favorite books of all time, I Who Have Never Known Men. I can't shut up about this book. I can't stop talking about this book, and I won't stop talking about this book. If you have clicked on this video and you read this book and you did not like it, I don't want to hear it. This book literally makes me want to argue with people. Like, anytime somebody comments on one of my TikToks or my reels and they're like, I read I Who Had Never Known Men and I just don't get it. I'm like, that's the whole point of this book. It is supposed to leave you with questions. It's supposed to make you feel uneasy. It's supposed to make you feel like eerie, unsettling, like all of those things. That's the point. You're supposed to not know what's going on. I'm still confused what I read, but it still literally changed my life. There were so many things in this book that I reread multiple times over and over again because I was like, holy crap. Did she just like tap into my brain and pull out every question I've ever had about my entire existence? It is so good and so confusing and moving. Every positive adjective I can think of, I would put towards this book. I love you. Then I finished our book club pick for January, which was The Alice Network, and of all of the World War II historical fiction books that I have read, this is definitely not my favorite. I feel like so much happened in it, and I was left with so many open storylines that just didn't end up getting resolved in any way. And I didn't feel a connection to these characters in the way that I have with multiple other World War II historical fiction books that I've read, and every time I post this on TikTok or on Reels, and I do like a yes, no, maybe of every book I've read in 2025, every time I give this one a maybe, everyone one like comes from my throat. It doesn't stand out in my mind. It's not one that I would recommend to somebody who is like, I'm new to World War II historical fiction, like what do you recommend I read? Or what are your all-time favorite World War II historical fiction recs? This just doesn't stick out in my mind. I listened to Welcome to Pawnee by Jim O'Hare on audio, and if you are unfamiliar, Welcome to Pawnee, this is a memoir style book about Parks and Recreation, and Jim O'Hare plays Larry, Gary, Jerry Gergich on Parks and Rec, one of my all-time favorite TV shows, and I really wanted to love this book, but I didn't. It came off very, I'm saying this with some apprehension, but a little bit whiny. But I will keep this physical copy because it is signed, which is really fun, and he signed it Jim O'Hare, and then damn it Jerry right there. I think that's really funny. Now we're moving into my February reads, and my first read of February was Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, which makes sense because this was my February book of the month pick, and again, it was okay. I'm very tough on thrillers, you guys know that, and this one just like, again, it's not going to stand out in my mind. I don't really remember exactly what happened. I do know that there's like a hostage situation that happens in this book, and I'm not spoiling that because if you read the back cover synopsis, you would also see that. I gave it a 3 out of 5, which is a pretty middle of the road rating for me when it comes to thrillers. And I read The Spell Shop, and I read this in February, which I think is the perfect time of year to read this book because it's very magical realism, very whimsical, very warm, all the happy cutesy vibes you want in a book. Follow a girl who is leaving the big city with her best friend who is also a talking plant, and when she worked in that big city, she took care of all of the books. She ends up going back to the island that she was born and raised on, and she opens a spell shop. Of course, there's a little bit of a love story going on as well. It was cute, it was fun, a solid 3-star rating for me, which is a good 3-star. There's a second one coming out called The Enchanted Greenhouse. If you happen to be new here and you just stumbled upon my page, hello, I'm Brady, and I love to listen to memoirs. There's nothing better than letting somebody tell you their story in their own words. Audiobooks are hands down one of my favorite ways to consume books, but specifically nonfiction and memoirs, which goes especially for The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. I don't know if Sherry Frankie had a ghostwriter on this book, but if she did not, she needs to become an author because this book was so well written. If you're unfamiliar, Sherry Frankie is one of the daughters of Ruby Frankie, who is currently taking the internet by storm because she was a mommy blogger back in the day on YouTube, basically abused her children on the internet. I personally really love this book because I am so anti-family YouTube channels. If you are out there and you are supporting family vlog channels, stop. It's so weird to me to exploit children on the internet before they are old enough to understand what they're signing up for. It literally infuriates me in every way possible. This was so good. I really recommend you listen to this one on audio. February was full of Kindle Unlimited thrillers for me. The first one was The Devil and Mrs. Davenport. I gave this a 2 out of 5. There was so much eeriness about this book, so many questions, and then it just ended. This book had so much potential to it, and it just completely fell flat for me, so 2 out of 5. And I also read The Last Party by A.R. Torre. This is a wild ride. The mom in this book is absolutely insane. I don't want to say too much in case you do plan to read this, but one thing about an A.R. Torre book, it's going to hit every single time. I think I've read like 4 or 5 of her books, and every single one of them is a really good twisty thriller, always available on Kindle Unlimited too, which I love. Also in February, I read The One by John Mars. So good. You're following 5 different storylines in this book that all perfectly like align in the best way possible. In the world that you're reading about, you can take a DNA test and figure out who your absolute perfect romantic match is in the world. So you follow 5 different storylines of people who are either deciding do they want to take the test, or they already have taken the test and have found their match, and then you just follow their story from there. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. Also during this month, I discovered my love of Long Bright River by Liz Moore. If you read The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, which was like the book of last year, I personally didn't love that book, but Long Bright River, 5-star read for me. This is about 2 sisters that live in and around Philadelphia in the Kensington area, but the 2 sisters could not be any different. Casey lives on the streets of Kensington, and Mickey is a police officer, and her jurisdiction is to patrol the streets of Kensington. She realizes one day she hasn't seen her sister Casey in a while, and you just follow her story of trying to find her sister and where her sister has been. Really, really, really good. Like I said, a 5-star read. Okay, where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? I also listened to Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, and again, recommend this one on audio because 1, you get his full South African accent, and 2, it helps a lot when you're reading a book about a different culture for all of the different pronunciations. This book was both laugh out loud funny and also very sad at the same time. Again, I just love educating myself and listening to other people's stories. I also read James in February, which was again our book club pick for February, and this was so good. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I did cliff notes both of them before I read this one to give myself some semblance of understanding of what happened in those books and how this book will tie into those. I don't think you have to read the entirety of both of those books, but I do recommend cliff noting them. The ending was so good. The last like 50 pages of this book, I could not put it down. I flew through them because it was just like everything you were reading about throughout the rest of the book came to a head right there. Loved it. There is a reason this was the top book of 2024, okay? Listen to the people. I also read a really shitty book in February. It was called Not Our Daughter, and and I gave this book 1 star. I would give it 0 if I could. It just sucked. It was so poorly written. It felt like it was written by like a 12-year-old boy. And I picked it up because I saw it on Goodreads and it has a 4.17 star rating, which for a thriller is really good. And I'm pretty sure at the time it had like a 4.3. So maybe other people are starting to realize that this book sucks as well. If it's been on your TBR, skip it. It's horrible. I'm okay with the fact that that book sucked because then after I read that, I read Wild Dark Shore, which if you follow me on Instagram, if you follow me on TikTok, then you know I quite literally cannot shut up about this book because I absolutely love it with everything in me. I'm sitting here trying to explain what happens in this book and I can't stop thinking about the ending. If you know, you know. I won't spoil it for you. This book is about a dad who is raising his 3 children down around Antarctica on a little tiny island where one of the world's seed vaults is being kept. He's basically like the groundskeeper of this island. He's keeping the seed vault alive. Sea levels are rising, and while they are living on this island, it is basically slowly sinking the entire time. And a woman washes ashore on their beach, so they're nursing her back to health. Eventually, she basically becomes part of this family, and this book will have you falling in love with every single one of the characters that you're going to read about for vastly different reasons. Every single one of them is so unique in their own way. I love this book with everything in me. So after I read that, which is now one of my all-time favorite books, I was like, what in the world do I pick up next? How about 3 Days in June? And this book did exactly what I needed it to do. It's only 165 pages long, so it was short, it was quick, and it's literally about a woman and you just follow her through 3 days of her life in June. She lives a very simple and mundane life, and her daughter happens to be getting married on the weekend that we're reading about. Like I said, it did the job that I needed it to do. It was exactly the palate cleanser book I was looking for because it was a book about nothing. In the best way possible, I still gave it a 3 out of 5 rating. 3 stars for 3 Days in June. And I was on a little bit of a high from that John Mars book that I read, The One, and I've read another John Mars book before, Keep It in the Family, that I absolutely hated, and he just came out with a new book in March called You Killed Me First. And I really wanted to enjoy this book, but it was beyond confusing. There were multiple storylines going on all at once, but they weren't done in a way that was like organized and could make sense in my mind, because every time I went to pick this book up on my Kindle, I had to keep rewinding and going back and reading the last few pages of the previous chapter because I couldn't remember what was going on, whose storyline were we in. So the fact that I had to keep rewinding, going back and rereading what I already read, it made this book feel like it just kept going on and on and on forever. So for that, I gave it a 2 out of 5. 2 more memoir recommendations. Tell Me Everything by Minka Kelly. Minka Kelly is the iconic Lila Garrity on Friday Night Lights. You loved her in that role. I would recommend you listen to this book on audio because her voice is everything to me. It's so soothing. If I ever were to write a book, which is probably not going to happen in my lifetime, and I needed an audiobook narrator for it, Minka Kelly would be my first phone call. Looking at her now and where she is at now in her life, you would not expect her to have had the childhood that she had. There were so many times reading this that I just wanted to like reach into my phone and give her the biggest hug and let her know that everything is going to be okay. And I read The Tell by Amy Griffin, and this is Amy's story. And we start out the book by her telling us that she likes to run. She's always going on runs, but she always feels like she's running from something. She hears about MDMA therapy, goes to a session, and in doing this therapy, she unlocks a very crucial big part of childhood trauma that her brain has basically locked in a box. The MDMA basically unlocked that box. It's a very sad story of Amy trying to get justice for what happened to her. And again, check your trigger warnings on this one because it was a major knife to the heart. My copy of The Strawberry Patch Pancake House is all the way up there on my series shelf. I don't want to get up and get it. I read The Strawberry Patch Pancake House, which is the 4th book in the Dream Harbor series, and hands down my favorite. We have a good single dad nanny romance. Archer is a world-renowned chef and finds out that he has a daughter after the daughter's mother passed away. So he moves to Dream Harbor to take over guardianship of his daughter. I love this one, give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I read The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Again, this was a book club pick and I didn't like it. And I'm really sorry for that because I know a lot of people did. And if it's on your TBR, I still recommend you read it. The reason I did not like this book is because I live a very like boring, mundane, casual life. I love to sit in my little chair and make my book videos for the internet. And this book is all about backstabbing, drama, stepping on whoever you need to step on to get to the top. And it's juicy, it's drama filled. It's giving Gossip Girl meets Daisy Jones and the Six vibes. I listened to it on audio and I still really didn't like it. It's told interview style, so you're getting different voices for different characters, but it just didn't do it for me. Like I said, the audiobook was fun. Like it was really fun to listen to the different voices for the different characters. It just wasn't enough for me to like bump it to the next star rating. I'm sticking with my 2. I'm also a huge fan of Noelle Eiley. As for Andrea, Grey After Dark, and None Left to Tell are some of my all-time favorite Kindle Unlimited thrillers, or just thrillers in general. They're very well done. They had me gripped from the start. So I decided to read Run on Red by Noelle Eiley, and I really didn't like this book at all. I think I gave it like 1.5 or maybe 2 stars. I will say the first like 30% of the book had my heart racing. It's about 2 girls that are going to this bonfire in a very secluded area, and on their way there's a car following them at night that keeps getting like really close to their bumper, and it just gave me all of the spooky, creepy vibes. But the rest of the book, the way that it was done was was just not good. There was so much like internal dialogue of the one character that I wanted to just smack her across the face and be like, shut up and run. Like, what are you waiting for? Go. Drove me nuts. So it got a 2 for me. But Broken Country, on the other hand, this book is popular right now for a reason. It is so good. This is about Beth, who is happily married to her husband Frank. They own a farm. They live this very small town, simple lifestyle until her childhood love, Gabriel, moves back into town with his son. Him moving back into town unravels this entire complex web of years of teenage love, heartbreak, all in the middle of a murder trial. Absolutely fantastic. A 5-star read for me. I genuinely can't believe she put a book that was this good, where so much happened, into only 300 pages. Like I've said 1,000 times throughout this video, I love a good nonfiction. I listened to 3 in a row going from the end of March into the beginning of April, and the first one was Careless People. This was so good. This is by Sarah Wynne Williams, and she used to be an executive over at Facebook, now Meta. It's basically an entire expose about how effed up Facebook, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, and other executives at Facebook are. It really made me want to delete all of my social media. A lot of their business practices are very sketchy and borderline illegal. If you like to just educate yourself on things that are happening in the world, I would recommend Careless People. And along that same note, I also listened to Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. And every time I talk about this book, I always reference back to my Goodreads rating of it, because I feel like my synopsis is the perfect way to wrap up everything you're going to listen to in this. What I wrote was, John Green personifies tuberculosis and tells the story of this unnecessarily deadly disease through the eyes of our world's history and a little boy named Henry that you will grow to fall in love with. Super interesting, and again, as a gal that just loves to educate and learn about new things, I loved it. And also as a gal who was born and raised on TLC TV shows, Johnny K plus 8, who are from where I'm from in Pennsylvania, by the way. I literally know where they live. I don't mean that in a weird way. I was also absolutely infatuated with the Duggar family, and I listened to Counting the Cost by Jill Duggar, and I always used to feel like really creepy and eerie when Jim Bob Duggar was on the screen, and now after reading this book, he's a human being. Who's surprised? I'm also not a religious person, so I do love to read about people who are in extremely religious families or who are in religious cults without knowing they're in religious cults. Everything about it just blows my mind. Another audiobook that I listened to was The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I listened to this one kind of on a whim. It was a deal on Audible where you could buy 2 get 1 free basically, and this was included in the deal, and it's been on my TBR for a while, so I grabbed it. And the audiobook was really well done. The narrator was really good, and there's also like this musical interlude that plays throughout certain parts of it. I can literally still hear it in my mind. Keep in mind that this book was published in 1963. So you're following this woman named Esther throughout this book, and she slowly starts going insane. And I literally wrote in my Goodreads rating, like, I don't know what to rate this book. I don't know anything to even say about this book. I feel like the first 80% of it was like beyond confusing to me, and then it just started to click for me in the last 20%, which is also a very common thing that a lot of people have read this book also feel. It was interesting. So I don't have a star rating for it because I genuinely don't even know what to rate it. And then last but not least, the book that I just most recently finished, Red Rising, first book in the Red Rising series, and I really did enjoy this. I gave this a 4-star rating, and I think the part that I most enjoyed about this book was that where this book started versus where it ended was so vastly different. Like, it almost borderline felt like I read 2 separate books. For example, the first 50, 60, 70 pages of the book versus the rest of the book, 2 totally separate worlds. And I keep forgetting about that first world, so I have a feeling that's going to start to tie into what is happening in the second book, which I am currently starting. I think I'm like 30 pages into Golden Sun. I've also heard that books 2 and 3 in this series are the best, and that it starts to get really complicated, so I'm really gonna have to like buckle in, really pay attention to every single thing I'm reading. Red Rising has been on my TBR for so long, so I'm glad I'm finally reading it. And other books that I'm currently reading, listening to No More Tears. This is a Johnson & Johnson kind of nonfiction expose style book, which after reading Careless People, this was recommended to me by Audible. I'm also very fortunate to have an advanced reader's edition of Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I am dragging my feet with this book because I don't want it to end. I'm obsessed with space, everything about space. It is my dream job to be an astronaut. So reading about a book in this world is everything to me. And at this point, we are well into 2025. So drop a comment letting me know your top read of 2025 so far. For me personally, it has been a great year of reading. I already have 2 new additions to my God tier list of books and so many more books on my TBR that I cannot wait to dive into. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see more book content. And while you're down in the comments letting me know what your favorite book is, also let me know what kind of content you guys want to see from me here on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye!